Uh. Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome in, everybody. It is Tuesday night, which means one thing and one thing only. It is time for the Fantasy Cheat Sheet presented by Going for Two Live, YouTube, Twitch. Go like, comment, subscribe on all the social media platforms. Go share the content. Help us out. Help you out by getting what you need to know for the upcoming week. We're going to get straight into the news and notes of the week. There's not much. Some of the news we're going to talk about more in depth later, so let's just get straight to it. First, there was a signing in New York today. No, it was not Carson Wentz. No, it was not Matt Ryan. And no, it was not a trade for Kirk Cousins. It was the one and only Trevor Siemian. So we know that Trevor Siemian is now a quarterback in the Jets. I'm assuming we all have the same opinion, but real quick around the horn, why is he there? Straight backup, right?
Well, we all know Zach Wilson sucks, man. Like even Joe Namath came out and said he was sick and tired of seeing him play.
Yeah, but Trevor Siemian over Zach Wilson, I don't know about that, Jamie.
Yeah, he's got that veteran presence, I guess, and I don't know, man. It might not have been the right pickup. Like, where's Nick Foles at?
Yeah, that's what I was thought too.
Yeah, I think. I guess you can call it insurance, but we know Zach Wilson sucks. But Simeon's played for the Jets before, not necessarily for Robert Saleh, I don't believe, but he's familiar with the team, the organization. So it was just a easy guy to bring in, veteran guy that they may have to put in at one point or another because people are sick and tired of Zach Wilson, his teammates included, I would assume.
Yeah, so then we got two major injuries this week. We'll just touch on them real quick. Unfortunately, torn ACL for Mike Williams of the Chargers. That means that Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnson are going to be 2 and 3. And then in New Orleans, Derek Carr got hit pretty dang hard by Jordan's Packers and hurt his AC joint, I believe it was.
Yep.
And so now he is going to be – they're saying questionable for the week. People, he's not playing in week 4. They're saying it's a 2 or 3 week injury more than likely, but he's just listed as questionable. Do any of you have quick comments on any of the injuries, or should we just keep going?
I mean, Mike Williams hurts, man. I had high hopes for him this season. But with Carr, man, that could be a nagging injury all year long. So that sucks for him.
Yeah, yep. Ditto. I think Mike Williams' injury, I mean, he typically is a guy that gets banged up, but it's tough to see him out for the year. And for Carr, I mean, it helped us come back. So, I mean, you know, I'm glad it wasn't a season-ending injury for him, but I'm glad he was out long enough for us to get that win.
All right, so right before the show, right before we got on air, we talked about a certain player. And we're about to talk about None football. So the first comment in the group, in the chat, is perfect. It is, and I'll start with you, Jordan, real quick, and then we'll just go to Jamie just because you're the one that asked the question to us. Rachaad White or Achane, or how's you want it pronounced now?
Achane.
Achane.
Rest of season, looking to trade one for Hollywood. What do you think, Jordan?
One, I'm not trading either one. I don't want Hollywood at all. So I would be if you're trading Achane at this point, I'm trying to get more than Hollywood if you can. But I think rest of the season I would probably Achane's more explosive, but Rachaad White has more of a guaranteed role, and we don't know what's going to happen with Jeff Wilson. So I'd stay with Rachaad White for now.
Yeah, Jamie?
Yeah, just for the guaranteed touches, I would stay with White. But no, I don't want Hollywood either. Why don't you try trading Achane for Christian Watson?
Yeah.
Might be able to get that done.
I thought you were going to say what happened in one of your leagues.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say
oh, no. Jamar Chase for Achane in a dynasty. No way. That's going to happen. More realistically, I would go for Christian Watson, man, coming off.
All right, so it is time to get into the cheats of the week. So for our first one, we have our Monday night takeaways. First game, Philadelphia Eagles went down to Tampa 25-11, but to me, the score does not dictate the trounce that they gave the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Takeaways, Jordan, why don't you give us your takeaway of this game? Because I absolutely am on par with you. So I'm going to give stats real quick, or do you want to give the stats?
No, you can give them, and I'll just follow up.
Jalen Hurts was 23 for 37, 277 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. The leading receiver, and A.J. Brown, 9 receptions for 131. Devontae was 4 receptions for 28. Go ahead.
So the numbers look good for AJ Brown, but we all know that's because he was pouting last week, and they had to figure out a way to get him the ball. They were kind of forcing it to him at times at the detriment of Devontae Smith. But I just think overall, man, like you said, the score didn't quite indicate how much the Bucs were dominated, but the passing offense isn't up to par. I mean, Jalen Hurts has thrown 3 touchdowns this season to 3 interceptions. So, like, when you think about the leap that I anticipate, like, he took a leap last year. I anticipated him to continue to grow with that, but I feel like they've been more stagnant this year to open up the season. They just haven't been connecting on some of those plays. I know he had some good throws to Smith in the Thursday night game against the Vikings. But overall, I just haven't been impressed with the Eagles' passing offense. They've been able to run the ball efficiently. DeAndre Swift is looking great. Gainwell got some touches, didn't do much with them, but the running game has been powering the offense so far. And Hurts has been salvaging his fantasy days with rushing touchdowns, but which he's going to continue to do. But you would just like to see that passing offense look a lot more fluent than it has been. I mean, the numbers, like I said, look good for AJ Brown, but it's just not what you would want. 23 for 37 isn't great. Obviously, 2 interceptions isn't great to 1 touchdown. I just want to see more from that Eagles offense with the weapons that they have across the board.
All right, so I'll go first, Jamie, so you can go right into yours. I think this has to, and I agree with you, I think this has to do with Ben Johnson. Not that he's a bad OC, but I think it's good. Unfortunately, I think it's taking. We were all hoping it was just going to be a smooth transition into last year, and with Shane Steichen going to Indy, I think we're finding out that Shane Steichen had a lot to do with it, and maybe we just have to wait a few games. I'm hoping that we only have to wait like 1 more week, if at all, and I'm hoping they get moving. The one that drives me nuts more than Hurts needs to get the ball rolling. I agree with you about AJB being the fact that he was pouting on the sideline and all that. But I want to see Goddard get some targets in the red zone.
Yeah.
I mean, I picked him up in multiple leagues. I traded for him in a dynasty league. I thought he was going to be more of a red zone asset. I've always been saying, even on the show here and other shows, that I think the AJB Devontae relationship is closer to the DK Lockett relationship than people think, in the sense of one can have a big game, but if Devontae has a big game, AJ won't, but AJ can still have a decent game with Devontae having a good game. But overall, you're right. We need to see more from the passing game. Yes, Hurts with the running game is going to help it out, and help his numbers out. But overall, for this team to succeed in the future and for our fantasy matters, we need that more. Jamie, why don't you give your quick take about that and then roll right into yours, because yours is the hot topic of the afternoon.
Yes, sir. I mean, AJ Brown, I think he missed a couple targets in the end zone. I don't know if it was his fault or Brown's fault, but I mean, you could blame it on both of them. But yeah, besides that, my take is Swift, man. That dude looks electric. Like, I did not expect this 2 weeks in a row. And I know the first game last week, he had 75% of the snaps, which was unheard of, man. We've never seen that before from him. Like over 25, 26 carries or something like that. And then yesterday he had I think 16 or 18. 16, 130 yards, averaging like 8.1 yards per carry. Like, let's talk about efficiency, man. Like we've seen it in the past of how efficient he could be, but he did it on 45 to 50% of the snaps before. He's never done it with a full workload. Now he's behind one of the best offensive lines in the league, and he's just showing that he can do it week after week so far. Like I don't see him slowing down anytime soon. Like what do you guys think? Is he able to keep it up all year, or is he going to be slowing down?
Go ahead, Jordan, because you guys know me as the Swiftie of the group, so go ahead.
Right. So, and I've been. It's been a weird ride for me. When they made the trade for him on draft night, I was like, I gotta go get Swift. Like I was trying to get him instantly. And then I remember I'm like, wait a minute, they got Rashad Penny on the team. So then I kind of tempered my expectations, and then we found out Penny sucks. We thought Gainwell was going to be the number one running back, which in week one he was. Then he got hurt, and now here we are. And I don't see Swift conceding the job again. I mean, Gainwell's going to get his touches like we saw last night. Like we saw last night. Gainwell got 14 carries, so 16 for Swift, 14 for Gainwell. But it's obvious who's the better running back, who's the more explosive, who's the more talented running back. So Swift is going to be the guy until he gets hurt. And I think like Nick Sirianni is one of those, we're going to use the hot hand guys. And I think Swift is going to continue to have the hot hand because he's so much more talented than Gainwell. And that offensive line is mulling people over right now, creating all those holes that we could run through. So I think, Swift is good. I mean, I would like to see him get in the end zone instead of Jalen Hurts sometimes taking all those touchdowns. But, I mean, I own Hurts a lot too, so that's fine. But I like Swift. I think he's going to maintain the job as long as he can stay healthy.
All right. Let's just get straight into it. He's on my bench in my work league, and I lost by 5 or 6 points. The reason he was on the bench in my work league, it is exactly what you both brought up. One, Jamie, he hadn't done it on a full workload. Then he does it on a full workload. But then Jordan said exactly the problem. Week one, it was all Gainwell. Then Gainwell's not in the lineup. Penny sucks, by the way. That's all I need to say about Rashad Penny. I don't need to bring his name up anymore. It's all about him and Gainwell now. Gainwell gets the majority of the workload in week one. Gainwell gets hurt. Swift goes absolutely nuclear in week two. But I wasn't sure if the workload, the consistency, the consistency and the workload would continue if Gainwell was back in the lineup. They still gave him the fair share. Okay? With all jokes aside, this is the only Swift that I am a fan of. Okay? All jokes aside on this NFL weekend, this is the Swift that I am a fan of. Okay? All I know is that DeAndre Swift is making my heart warm right now because I have been a Swift fan since he came out of the University of Georgia. He is the one, you guys both know this, he is the one that I was hoping the Chiefs were going to take when I heard running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Okay, I was hoping it was going to be Swift or at least Jonathan Taylor. So I am happy for Swift, truly happy for Swift that he is finally getting the opportunity. Can he fully do it? Is he going to do this every dang week? No, for part of the reason that Jordan just brought up, the touchdown part is going to hinder part of his upside. But I do believe that he is going to continue, and he probably will end up being the team's number one for the rest of the season. I am going to flip for my takeaway for this game. I am flipping to the other side. There wasn't a lot to be happy about in Tampa Bay. I wrote up about Baker, playmaker Mayfield in my article, thinking he was going to be good. So I'm not even going to go into Baker. I am going deeper in this one, and I'm going future. Jamie, I am going to our bread and butter for a second, and that is Dynasty. Trey Palmer has proven to the team and to me that he is their number 3 this year. What that means for me is if you can go get Trey Palmer for cheap, go get him now in Dynasty because this team is getting older. Evans' situation all aside, I don't think many of us think he's going to be on the team next year. Godwin is still young, but he's getting older in the tooth, just the amount he's played and injury and everything else. I think Palmer's going to have a larger role at the end of the year this year. And then next year, I think Palmer could end up being this team's number 2 or a high-end number 3, like a Tyler Boyd situation where he could be a 3, but he could still be playable in fantasy. Jamie, what do you think? Because I know you're in the dynasty circles like me.
Yeah, I like Trey Palmer. I was always debating between him and that Tyler Scott in Chicago. I kind of have a little bit of both here and there. But looking right now, I mean, Tyler Scott's not going to do much with the offense they have. But Baker has been doing all right, man. But I do like Tyler Scott. I do think what you said, he could be a great number 2 slot guy and put up some fantasy points here and there, especially in the slot.
Jordan, what do you think about Trey?
Trey being a Louisiana guy, I like him. I think for Russell Gage going down obviously opened up that opportunity for him. I know him and Devin Tompkins, I think, were kind of splitting snaps at the third receiver. He's obviously overtaken him. It's a good spot, like you mentioned, with older receivers that they have. Mike Evans is probably, I don't anticipate him being there much longer, specifically with the quarterback situation that Tampa Bay has right now. I don't know what that's looking like for him. Godwin's getting up there in age, coming off of some injuries. So, I mean, he has a chance, particularly in Dynasty, to make some noise.
Yeah, for sure. And then for the night game last night, Cincinnati Bengals ended up winning the game 19-16. Me and Jordan needed that. We will get to that in a little bit later. But Bengals win 19-16. Joe Burrow ends up playing the game, ends up having an okay game. Jordan, what is your takeaway in this Bengals game?
One of the most obvious things that we've seen, besides Joe Burrow, obviously not 100%, but anytime the Rams, it seems like they won the Super Bowl, but after that, it's been offensive line issues, and they've consistently come back to bite them. It's various offensive linemen going out or just missing the games or whatever, and it obviously affected Stafford. I mean, the first half he did pretty well, but then in the second half, man, like it felt like every drop back he was either running and throwing an interception or getting sacked, and that hurt Puka, that hurt Tutu. It was just tough to watch and see. Stafford and many quarterbacks don't do well being pressured, but him in particular, the decisions that he made at the pressure, he started to rush everything and it started to look bad. I mean, their upcoming schedule for that, I know the guys can get healthy, but if that continues, they're looking at the Colts next week with a good front seven. They're looking at the Eagles the week after that with a good front seven. Then they have Pittsburgh and Dallas. So they need to get that fixed soon. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to confidently start these receivers if Stafford doesn't have time to throw. And the Bengals don't have the best defensive line in the league by far. So it was tough to watch as a Puka Nacua owner, as a Tutu Atwell owner, and all the pass catchers on that team. Even Kyron Williams, he kind of sucks, by the way. But that's a different day. It was just tough, and they need to get that fixed.
Jamie, what do you think about the Rams' offensive line or lack thereof?
Yeah, I mean, I knew they were going to take a little step back because now there was 2 games that the opponents had the game tape on, so they could easily kind of slow them down a little bit. So on a bet yesterday, I actually took the under at 72.5 receiving yards on Puka. Everyone thought I was crazy. He hit exactly 72 yards, but for the whole game, he was pretty much at that 37 mark. They held him, and then at the very end, he had that long catch. I almost flipped. I'm like, oh, shoot. I looked, and it was like a half a yard short from my bet, so I actually hit that. Kyron Williams sucks. I don't like him. I knew he was going to take a little step back. There's no way they could have kept that up all year. People are looking at those two like the next coming. It's just insane. Like, people were selling the farm for them. I'm like, you're crazy. Just wait.
And I don't think that this is an indictment. Well, I don't know about Kyron Williams, but as far as Puka goes, it's one of those things where like this was a Stafford. I don't think that the Bengals shut the receivers down. I think it was the defensive line just manhandling the offensive line and him not having time. Those guys were open at times. He just wasn't getting them the ball.
Yeah, so before I give my real quick take on the Rams offensive line. So the way you guys are talking about Kyron Williams and a third or a first?
I'll take the first all day.
I pulled it off.
Nice.
I pulled it off. Kyron and a third for a first. I pulled it off in a rebuild. I pulled it off in a rebuild.
Because next year, Kyron Williams is not going to be the lead.
And it's probably going to be a first that's in between. Like, I don't think this guy's going to end up doing good or bad. He's probably going to be mid. So I'm going to have an okay, and then I'm going to get his. My only take on the Rams offensive line is I'm going to go bigger picture. I'm not going to talk about last night in general. You brought it up, Jordan. They haven't had a great offensive line since when? Since they were in the Super Bowl. Andrew Whitworth retired. They go out and spend the money on other pieces. You know, they had to spend money on the defensive line with Aaron Donald. They had to go spend the money to get cut. They had to spend the money to keep all the stuff. They're not spending the money on the O-line now. They're not drafting the O-line. Why? Because they don't have any goddamn picks to spend to even draft a third, a fourth rounder that can turn into a decent guy. That offensive line is hurting. You got an immobile-ish quarterback. Yeah, he can move around the pocket a little bit. There was a couple times where he got out. But if you have Stafford doing that all game long, you're never going to be able to be a successful team, and you're already weak on defense, so which means you're going to have them do that, and you're not going to want that. So, Jamie, there is a player that we all love that showed up.
Yes, he did. Last week, I think I had him as my fake performance because
I knew you were going to rub that in.
But yeah, like he's back on that elite level. He had 12 receptions, like 147 yards. He didn't get that touchdown, but they're going to be coming soon. As soon as Burrow gets back in his groove, and that'll put him in like the top 3 receiver level again. So it's games like this is the reason you don't sit your stud receivers like that. Someone asked me yesterday if they should sit him for someone, or last week, and I was like, no way, you don't sit Jamar Chase. So I'm hoping she didn't. But yeah, the Bengals use him all over the field. They put him on the outside right, outside left, in the slot, both sides of the slot. They created mismatches. Especially with Burrow not being 100% with this offense, like you need to keep creating those targets that he's not being double covered all the time. But like this week, I think he was wide receiver 6 on the year. He's wide receiver 25. So do you guys see him like putting up those elite numbers, like more weeks than not, to get himself back into that top 3 the rest of the season?
Absolutely. If somebody wants to give me Jamar Chase, I'm taking it all day. It's going to be a lot harder now with the game that he had. Didn't help the fact that T. Higgins dropped a couple passes, had to go to the locker room, so Burrow couldn't trust him last night. But it all depends on what Burrow's doing. I mean, if he re-aggravates the injury, then we got to look at Jake Browning. Then I'm worried. But until then, I'm trusting the Bengals. I'm trusting Chase, I should say. Not sure about Burrow yet. He's going to have to show me he's 100% before I can trust him. But I'm going to keep chasing the lineup every week.
All right. Yeah, I agree 100%. I'm not worried about Chase. You brought him up a little bit, but I want to go more into the Higgins situation because I have another spin on this thing. Catch the damn ball, T. You're lucky I already have a rant of the week. There's a couple that I'm going to call out that you're lucky I have a rant already lined up. Because I have T. Higgins in my work league that I sat freaking DeAndre Swift. So if he would have had those 2 catches, yes, it's full PPR. And if he would have made one of those, a 20-yarder, I would have been okay. But it seems like he's always getting – tell me if I'm wrong, boys. It seems like he's always getting dinged up in games that he messes up. He's almost pulling a Dalvin Cook where, I fumbled the ball and I get hurt.
That's so like a lot of the young kids when they make a mistake, they hurt their ankle or something like that.
Yeah. Like, come on, just suck it up because he was back out there like 2 or 3 plays later. There was even people on a big time podcast that I was listening to today that they're talking about it, and they're like, we're looking it up right now and we can't find any news on the injury because there was no injury.
He had cramps.
Yeah, he had cramps. Like, I mean, even Jamar had cramps, in the game at the end of the Jefferson had cramps too. But my whole point with Higgins is there were talks about him getting traded. They are 1-2. If they cannot pull this season out of their rear end, yes, they played the Rams, they're 1-2. But like you guys both said in both of your takes for different reasons, Joe Burrow is not 100%. Maybe should they sit him for Browning for a game to get his ankle or his calf rested? They should, but they can't afford to. It's not going to happen. If the Bengals are out of it by week 6, week 7, do they think about the inevitable and trade Higgins early?
I don't see why not. I mean, his contract's up at the end of the year anyway, right? I don't think they're going to have enough money to re-sign him. Yeah. So you might as well get something out of him if you're not contending.
And go to and trade him to someone that could use him for. Obviously, you're not going to want to trade him to it's not coming to us. I'm just going to say it. But you're not going to want to trade him to the Chiefs or the Bills, someone you're going to be fighting against. But if you were to trade him to a NFC contender that needed a wideout or something like that, so you're not going head-to-head competition against them, I could see that happening, and that scares me because I think as soon as he gets traded, whatever fantasy value he has for this season, not talking dynasty, for this season plummets because new offense, new system, limited time. We always see it where in football, it's not always come in like Jordan. You're a diehard basketball head. It's not like basketball where you can just put a guy at the all-star break into an offensive system or even baseball, put a guy into the all system and go, hey, you're the point guard, go shoot, go distribute, get us to the chip. Football's not that way with as many pieces that there are. Jordan, what do you think about Higgins in general? I know you brought up the drops, but do you think Higgins is a prop? Do you think Higgins' fantasy value is diminishing because of his role with Burrow being injured? And what do you think about the trade situation?
So I think I'm not going to say his role is diminishing because of Burrow, because, I mean, last week, in week 2, he had 8 catches, 89 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, he obviously is going to still have his weeks to produce. The thing I'm thinking about is for the Bengals, and it's a decision that you guys talked about. They're a historically cheap franchise. They just gave Joe Burrow the most money in NFL history. And then they're going to have to pay Jamar Chase the most money for a receiver in history. So do you make that decision with Higgins, or do you just try to get off of him beforehand? I mean, I think I know, I mean, based on their track record, I would assume they're not going to pay him. They're going to get rid of him because that would be a hefty bill to pay 3 guys, one of which is a second-round pick in Higgins. So, I think they should try and see what they can get for him. He's going to have to play a little better so that they can get full value. But I think that they need to explore that, especially, like you said, if the season kind of reaches a point where it's not worth it anymore. Because I mean, if they're still in it, they're gonna play it out all the way through to see if they can get a Super Bowl out of it at least, and then they'll let them walk. Because that's what it's like. Football is not like basketball. Like basketball teams will try their hardest to hold on to their best players. They'll do all kind of things. Football, they'll just cut a player, let them walk for nothing because it's just the way the constraints of the contracts and everything like that. But if they still have a chance to win it all, he'll still be there. But if not, I think they'll explore it because they don't want to pay him.
Yep. Jamie?
You pretty much said it all, man. But yeah, if he goes to any other team, he could be the number one. So you don't want to put him in a position where you're going to be facing him in the AFC anytime in the future. So what team do you – the what?
I guess it's like if T. Higgins is the number one weapon, I'm not scared of that. I guess it depends on if T. Higgins is the number one weapon for Patrick Mahomes, then maybe. But if
I think he's talented enough, man. Like he could be the number one on almost any team in this league, depending on what team, obviously.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you a question, Jamie. Right now, with the injury, no, not talking about the ulterior players, but with the injury, if the Chargers are in the hunt in week 9 or week 10, is he the number one receiver on the Chargers?
He'd be like the 1A, 1B with Keenan Allen.
2. Keenan Allen's too good.
All right, so that's our Monday Night Football takeaways, which means it's time for Jordan's favorite segment of the week. Is it real or fake? Take it away, Jordan.
Well, real performance was somebody we talked about in the waiver section last week. Somebody that we thought people should pick up, and that's Nathaniel Tank Dell. Like we talked about last week, Tank had his playing time in week 1 wasn't what we would have liked, but then Noah Brown got injured, landed on IR, and from there, Tank took off. Obviously had a long play for a touchdown, finished with 5 for 145 in the touchdown, I think. Him and CJ Stroud already had chemistry playing together. Obviously, he trusts him. For last week, Dell was the number one receiver on the Texans. Obviously, Nico Collins had been balling the first 2 weeks. It's possible that the guard could be shifting. The only thing with Tank, I know he's a small guy, but I definitely think he can keep this up. The Texans are going to be trailing in a lot of games, so they're going to have to be throwing a lot. CJ is going to be airing it out. Tank is explosive. He has the speed. So Robert Woods is the other receiver. So I anticipated being Nico and Tank leading the receiving core for the Texans for the rest of the season on a team that's going to be bad, chasing points, throwing a lot.
Jamie, what do you think about Mr. Tank?
I think he's real, and I'm an idiot for ignoring him this season in the drafts. I was pretty much going after Nico and just letting Tank go strictly on size. I didn't think he would be able to hold up well, and he was like 165 pounds. But I also ignored his college career stats. He had like 230 receptions, over 3,100 yards. His last season, his last 2 seasons, he had like 1,300 yards each with over 12 touchdowns each season. Like that's incredible for a guy that size, especially. And I'm thinking, yeah, he is small, 165, but they're probably going to put him on like some kind of a weight training program to kind of bulk him up a little bit. So who knows? He could weigh like 170, 175 right now.
All right. So Jordan, who is your fake?
My fake is only because of the quarterback who was throwing in the ball, but I'm going to say Adam Thielen. Thielen finished, I think, as wide receiver 3 this past week. Balled out. He did his thing. Obviously, they played against a really bad Seahawks secondary who's been getting torched by almost anyone they've played. So that's part of the reason why I think his performance is fake. I mean, you're not going to face the worst pass defense in the league every week. And then 2, Andy Dalton was out there, and Andy Dalton isn't Patrick Mahomes, but the starter is a rookie quarterback still trying to get his legs. He's tiny, but he's tiny, and I like Bryce as a player, but I think obviously it's going to take him some time to develop into what we all think he can be. are what I think he can be. So Andy Dalton's not going to be the starter for much longer. Bryce has an ankle injury. He could be back maybe next week. If not, if Andy Dalton plays this week, I think you give Thielen another chance. But if Bryce is back, then I wouldn't take the chance with him. Just because I don't think it's going to be a long-term thing.
All right, so Adam Old Man Thielen, you are 100% right. Dalton should be the starter, because if this was 15 years ago, we would be having Andy Dalton as a starter almost all season and then just having Bryce Young play at the end of the year for a few games. Bryce Young is not ready for the NFL. As long as his ankle is dinged up a tiny bit, they should just wrap it up and just keep him on the sideline and let Andy Dalton be the quarterback. Red can be the quarterback for a few games. They're not going to do that, unfortunately, because they traded up and gave all that capital and DJ Moore and brought in Adam Thielen, brought in DJ Chark. Mingo seems to be, as long as he's healthy, I know he had a concussion issue. Mingo and Chark seem to be the guy that Young is throwing to, even though Young can barely see over Jamie's head if Jamie was the offensive lineman. I agree with you. Adam Thielen is a fake performance, but I do think he will carve out a role to be an injury / bye-week replacement once we get down into the nitty-gritty of week 9, 10, 11, those weeks where we have that week where we have a 16 bye and we're going to be so far into the season that we're going to be starting running backs that are not even on the team yet and they're still packing groceries. Those weeks are the weeks that we're going to probably play Thielen, but I 100% agree with you. Do not expect this on a weekly fashion. Don't expect this as his key performance. Jamie, I can't believe we're actually about to get into your real and fake, and the real has something to do with the Cleveland Browns.
Yes, sir, man. Like the Cleveland Browns defense is the real deal. And there's no denying that right now. Like they're putting up historic numbers just through the first 3 games. They only allowed 1 touchdown, and that was that big Pickett, the Pickens. They only allowed 4 field goals so far. They got 9 sacks, only allowed 21 first downs. They're allowing 3.8 yards per pass. They held Chase, they held Hopkins under 50 yards. Their rushing defense, man, they got 2.8 yards per rush attempt. They shut down Mixon, they shut down Henry and Najee. Those are all three decent running backs. So if they keep playing like this, man, like they can win the division strictly just on the back of the defense. The real test is going to be this week, though. We're going against Baltimore. So Lamar is going to be a challenge. So it's going to be interesting to see how we do against him. Like we got to put our big boy pants on this week. We got to contain them, like shut down the run game. I mean, they got average running backs right now, so that's not going to be that hard. So as long as we shut down Lamar, I think we can definitely blow this game out of the water. Go 3-1. So what do you guys think? Is that like fact or fiction? The Browns defense being the top defense of this league right now.
Jamie, you were doing so well. I 100% agree with you. This defense is gelling. I can't believe a defense is gelling this good with Juan Thornhill on it. Okay? You have Myles Garrett, who is absolutely blowing this. He's doing great this year. Did you guys see that play? I think there was 2 plays where he was running back and forth on the defensive line from right to left before snap, and they were literally motioning tight ends to the other side back and forth to block him, and they made it. And on both times, he got false starts. Like it was amazing. That team is good. They got the linebacking core. What's his name? The other safety. Delpit is having a great year. Ward is doing good. It's a good defense. The top 5 defense right now. I agree with you. I mean, they only gave up 2 fantasy points to frickin' Derrick freaking Henry. Derrick Henry's not having a great year. That's a whole nother story, whole nother ball game to talk about on a later date. You were doing so well in your argument until you told me. I was so on board with you, Jamie. I was about to give you the biggest pat in the back. And then you said they can win the division.
Oh, come on now.
No!
We're going to be 3-1, buddy.
Division.
Who else is in our division?
I already, at the beginning of the year, I picked the Bengals. I picked the Bengals to go second in the division to the Baltimore Ravens. Okay? I do agree with you that this is the biggest test, and you understand that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that to win the division, I don't think this defense is going to be able to win you the division. Yes, it's a good defense. Lamar is going to be definitely a test. I think you're going to have problems with Lamar. You're right. The offensive, the running attack in Baltimore is not spectacular right now. Damn it, J.K. Dobbins' knee or ankle, whatever, Achilles. I do agree with you that it is a good defense, and they are real. I am not saying they're not real. I'm only giving you crap because you said they're going to win the division. So now give your fake performance so Jordan can have fun with this one.
Let's see. What was my? Okay, yeah.
I even made you forget.
I had to think about that for a minute. So my fake, I went a little bit off script on this. My fake performance is an actual real fake.
That's why I messaged you privately and said, where the hell are you going with this?
He's a real fake NFL quarterback.
Okay, there you go.
It's Justin Fields, man. Like, we've seen him through the first 3 weeks, but it's not just the first 3 weeks. Let's look at his whole career. As a starter, Fields only won 5 games and 23 losses in his career. He only had 1 fourth quarter comeback in his whole career. He's averaging 59% completions in his whole career. He averages 165 passing yards per game. He has 27 touchdowns with 25 interceptions. He's been sacked 104 times and fumbled 31 times. Just in the last 3 games, he only has 3 passing touchdowns and 4 interceptions, right? At least he's being consistent with the rest of his career. So do you see this guy being an actual NFL quarterback? Like, the problem is, like, he needs to be able to stay consistent as a real NFL quarterback to stay on the field to give us fantasy points. And I don't see the Bears doing that. Like, the Bears are already in contention for a top pick next year. They also have the Panthers top pick next year, so they can realistically have 2 top 5 picks. One of them could be the number 1 overall. So I could see him getting a brand new quarterback next year, letting Fields walk. There's been a history of Ohio State quarterbacks just not making it in the NFL, and he's going to keep showing it, I think, in my eyes.
Go ahead.
So I agree with you. Those Ohio State quarterbacks. I saw that somebody had that, and that was alarming to see. I mean, they had a bunch of guys. Some of them, like Cordell Jones, played like one game or something. Like started one game.
Haskins.
Yep, Haskins wasn't great. So that is a thing. But for Fields, man, I think it's one of those things where I hate to just blame it on coaching all the time, but when you watch him, some of the throws that he makes, they look like they are on target. It's not like he's a bad thrower. I think for him, it's like processing some of the things over the middle. He doesn't throw over the middle of the field, and I wonder if that's a coaching thing. He's either throwing to the boundaries or check downs or something like that. He doesn't throw anything over the middle of the field. So I wonder if that's coach. I mean, he did have Matt Nagy as his coach, who is not a good head coach. And the only reason why he's having success now is because he's back with Kansas City with Mahomes. And the guy, Mike had his rant last week about the play caller. So I don't think it's so much of a Fields problem because when I look at other quarterbacks who quote unquote can't throw, we were worried about Anthony Richardson, but Shane Steichen has put him in positions to be successful, and he's capitalized on that in the brief time. Josh Allen was horrible at throwing the ball, but then they worked with him and he became a good player. So I think it's still there for Fields, but I don't know if it's going to happen in Chicago. And that I don't know if that's necessarily an indictment on him, but I think it's more of a organizational failure as opposed to Fields as a player.
Yeah, for sure. So I agree with basically everything you guys said. So my real performance, I'm going to a team too, kind of like Jamie did, but I am going a big spin on this one. Minnesota Vikings is a real performance, and what I mean by that is mediocre team. 0-3, and this is not my rant, which is the best part about it. Mediocre team, mediocre performance in the sense of this. Last year, so everyone going into this year, everyone thought that this could be a team that could win the division. This could be a team that could take a step forward. Brian Flores is going to be the new DC. I figured that was going to take a little time to get rolling, get his players in, get his system going, all that. But you do have one of the best wide receivers in the league in Justin Jefferson. You do have Kirk Cousins, who is a good quarterback. You do have Alexander Madison. Not you, Jamie, but there were a lot of damn people out there that were touting the Alexander Madison train. I know you were kicking people off the train, but there were people on the train. You were pulling people off the train, trying to save their lives. But there were a lot of people out there that thought Madison was going to be the guy. He did okay because he had Akers behind him, and of course he only does good when he has someone pushing him. Yep. But here's the thing. It's overall team. Last year, they went 13-4. 10 wins were one possession games. Yep. Their playoff game that they lost to the New York Gigantes was a one possession game. All 3 losses this year are one possession games so far. Does that mean they're bad luck? No. What that means is last year got balanced out so far this year. Going 10 games, winning 10 straight, all the games that they lost were not even one possession games. Losing 10 straight or winning 10 straight 1 possession games isn't normal. It doesn't happen. So for them to come back and it balance out does not surprise me at all. Was I surprised on the outcome of this year in the sense of 0-3? Yeah. Did I think did I pick them to lose in my work pool? To lose to the Chargers? Yes. But here's the other thing that's weird. How many fumbles do you think they had, all lost fumbles, all of 2022?
I'm going to say 5.
They had 8 as a team. Okay. They have 8 in 2023.
Yeah, I think Madison has 4?
I knew he was going. No.
I wasn't even going to throw his name out there. Stop running him under the bus. Okay?
I think you would have had another one too,
thrown under the bus enough.
Dead or something.
I know. But so my real performance is that the Vikings are not a team that is going to be competitive this year. Kirk Cousins will not be the quarterback next year. And if a certain team in New York somehow pulls part of this season out of their behind, which I don't think they will, but if they pull their season out of their behind and are about 500 going into week 8 or 9, 10-ish, I could see Kirk Cousins being a New York Jet to get them to the playoffs. Jordan, besides my stupid take about the Jets, I don't think that's going to happen. I'm just saying that's a bold take. But what do you think about the Vikings?
I agree 100%, man. Like you said, anytime you win 10, one.
Oh, that was Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, anytime you win 10 one-score games, it's bound to catch up to you. So I'm gonna let Jamie talk about
Yeah.
Alexander Madison some more.
Go ahead, Jamie. Take your rant. That was my bad.
That's all right, man. As much as I hate Alexander Madison, I did have him ranked as RB15 going into this coming week, just because I knew it was going to be a high-scoring game. He was going to get a little bit more volume, but that's just not going to be consistent throughout the rest of the season, especially now when you got Akers behind him. He's not efficient. He's not explosive. They need to find a better running back. Hopefully they found one in Akers that can do a little bit more, because they're not going to rely on the run game. They rely on the pass game. What they do need to do to stay in games is work on that secondary. The secondary is what's killing them. And as long as they can work on that, get that in the next couple years, work like next draft, I think they can be a contending team and make the playoffs pretty much any year, like with any quarterback, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you there. It's just this year they just need to, like I said, I knew it was going to take Flores to get a little bit of time to get his defensive going. It always does when you bring in a whole new system. It's just I didn't expect. It's just weird how everything balances out in football. Everyone says the ball bounces on the point, doesn't bounce around, and it definitely isn't for them. So for my fake performance, so the guys obviously know from the show sheet who I put on the sheet. But I could guarantee you, maybe Jordan, but I can guarantee you that Jamie would not have been able to guess who the tight end 5 on the season was if I didn't put it on the show sheet.
I don't know. I would have guessed like Logan Thomas or something.
It's Donald Parham Jr.
Jesus.
of the Los Angeles Chargers. Okay, this guy has in week. Come on, I just had you up. Don't be a pain in my rear. In week 1, he had 8.2 points. Okay, Jamie. In week 2, he had 0.7 points. In week 3, he had 12.4 points.
And he's tight end 5.
And he's tight end 5. Travis Kelce missed week 1, and he's tight end 3 on the season.
Man.
But what's crazy is, this is what's crazy. All season long, he has had 7 targets.
Wow.
6 catches, 7 targets, and 33 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
There is no way he is going to be able to sustain this production, obviously, with, 30-something yards, 6 catches, 7 targets, and the 3 touchdowns. They're using him in the red zone, which scares me because I was on the Gerald Everett thought process going into the season. But even if he does take a little bit of the red zone away, he's still not going to be able to even produce this. I'm expecting him to fall off hardcore. I'd be surprised if he finishes as a top 12. He could finish as a top 15 because, like you said, Jamie, those numbers are giving him top 5 tight end for the season so far.
Yeah, and
Jordan, yeah.
Just bring it up. He's only running 16 routes, 17 routes per game.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Jordan, what do you think about this?
It makes me sick when I was watching the Chargers and like just looking at his numbers from last week: 2 catches, 4 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's just
and Gerald Everett's in my lineup.
Yeah. So like obviously that's not sustainable. He's only playing a little over 50% of the snaps. The Chargers have been playing Everett, Parham, and another guy at tight end. So they've been playing a bunch of tight ends. The pecking order in the Chargers is established. Parham's a red zone threat, but nothing more. And you can't anticipate him catching a touchdown every week. So he's not worth the pickup unless Gerald Everett gets hurt. But as far as currently constructed, nah. Even with the Mike Williams injury, I still don't trust Parham's role to increase.
Yeah, it could be a deep dynasty stash if you have the space on your bench, but
yeah, if you have space. All right. So for the next cheat of the week, it is time for Jordan's rants of the week.
So this is we're gonna go to Indianapolis with this. Jonathan Taylor, obviously everybody knows he's on the PUP list. He has one more week left before he can return in week 5. We've all been trying to, I guess, well now it's been a mystery as to what's going on. I know he's healthy now. Is he gonna play for the Colts again? Or are the Colts gonna trade him? What's gonna happen? But in the meantime, Zach Moss has completely taken over the Colts backfield. He had broken his arm in training camp and missed week 1, so that allowed Deion Jackson to fall flat on his face. Evan Hall also got injured. He's on IR. The Colts released Deion Jackson after his poor performance. So Zach Moss had the backfield all to himself, and he's capitalized on it big time. I mean, obviously, he had 30 carries this past week against Baltimore. Finished with 122 yards, caught 3 passes for another 23 yards and a score. He was like RB5, I think, on the week. So, just looking at Zach Moss, I mean, he isn't the most explosive player or isn't like the quote unquote sexiest player to pick up off of waivers. But I was just going through his game logs and stuff like that. He's had 10 games in his entire career where he's had at least 14 touches. And in 8 of those 10, he scored 12 PPR points or more. So he's been productive whenever he's gotten a workload. And the Colts, he's going to have it for one more week for sure. But if he continues to play at this level, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen when Taylor returns, but Taylor may not play another game for the Colts. So at that point, I mean, if Zach Moss is available, you got to pick him up because, like, the Colts are going to run the football. That's what they do. Taylor's going to get his if he continues to play for the Colts. But, who's to say he couldn't get hurt or they trade him or whatever? Zach Moss is a good running back to fall back with. He's been productive. He's going to continue to be productive as long as they give him the opportunity.
Chris, I will put up your questions in just a couple minutes. Jamie, what do you think about what Jordan's talking about?
Yeah, I mean Moss, man, he could be a usable backup to Taylor, and put him in there like 20% of the snaps, just to keep Taylor fresh if Taylor plays. But I think he should already be owned in almost all the leagues right now after what he put up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think Taylor just needs to kiss and make up with the Colts, play on that team because no one's gonna give the Colts what they want for them. But yeah,
if you're the Colts, you have a disgruntled running back, a position that you don't value anyway. Wouldn't you just be okay with getting something and letting him go?
All right. So here's what I think is going to happen. I agree with you. They should try to get something. But the problem that we have here is Zach Moss is doing good, but he ain't the issue. And yes, he could be a serviceable backup, Jamie. He could be the starter if Jonathan Taylor doesn't perform. Jonathan Taylor is not the problem in this situation. It's freaking Jim Irsay. And Jim Irsay's ego is giant. We already know that. My thought process, my prediction, and when you brought this up, I was just going to bring up that Zach Moss's, what I was going to say is that Zach Moss's performance could have been my real performance, because I do not think that Jonathan Taylor plays another down this year.
Don't tell me that. I got him on a bunch of
I do too. I do too. There is something telling me that as long as they have a serviceable running back, which Moss is playing serviceable right now, that Jim Irsay is going to say, kick rocks. Is it the popular opinion? No. Is it the smart thing to do? No. The smart thing to do is what you and Jamie are saying, is that if you're not going to play Jonathan Taylor, go out, get something for him, let him go somewhere that he can play. But just like you said, Jordan, they already don't value that position on this team. He's already proving that. He's sitting there saying he'd rather go save orcas than sign his own asset that he drafted a couple years ago who's proven that he's one of the best running backs in the league. Zach Moss is their number one running back. He's getting, I mean, what do you get? He got the 1 week, the first week he did this, he had every single carry or every single snap. And then he had like 95% of the snaps. Like you said, they cut Deion Jackson. I just don't see even if Jonathan Taylor comes back, I think it's going to be more like 70-30, 65-35, more than the 80-20 that, Jamie, you just happened to mention. I know you were just spitting numbers out. In the sense of, I think Zach Moss has proven himself to Shane Steichen and to this team that he deserves a role.
Right.
So we'll get to one of these questions, and then we'll get to the second one before I go, Jamie. Quick around the horn. We'll start with you, Jordan, because your team is involved in this question in a sideways way. Dak Prescott against the New England Patriots, or Goff on Thursday night at Lambeau.
That's tough. I was gonna my first reaction was to go Goff, but Goff on the road is not the same as Goff in Detroit.
And it's going to be at night, so yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Man, Bill Belichick. I'm gonna say Dak, but I don't feel good about either one of these guys this week.
Jamie?
All right, who's Cowboys playing?
New England.
New England. I'm gonna go ahead and go Golf, and with my next segment, I'll kind of explain a little bit more about it.
All right, I am gonna go Dak, but I am on the same page as Jordan. This is not going to be. This ain't going to be pretty. You could have an 11-12 finish. You could have a 14-15 finish in fantasy. It's going to be close, and I have a feeling I know where Jamie's going to go with this, so I'm going to let Jamie go with that in a second. So, Jamie, it's your bet of the week. Take it away.
Yes, sir. So I did hit my last week's bet, so I'm going to try to make it 2 weeks in a row. It's a 8-leg parlay. It pays out plus 900.
It's 8 legs.
Yeah, but I made them. There's a reason I put all these in here. So right now, it's going to be Luke Musgrave, 25 plus yards. Sam Laporta, 25 plus yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 50 plus. You got Jared Goff, 225 plus. Jordan Love, 200 plus. And then Romeo Dubes, 39.5 over. Jaden Reed, 38.5 over. And then since it's a Thursday night game, two young offenses, I'm going under the total alternative line of 59 just to be safe. So that put it over. That put 900, like $10 will win you. $10 will win you $100. Now here's the reason why. So the Lions versus tight ends, he let Noah Gray go for 31 yards. Fant had 56. Pitts had 41. Right. Musgrave, you would think would go 25. Same with the Packers. They had Komet go 44, Jonnu Smith go 47, and Jimmy Graham got that touchdown, right? So you would think Laporta being used is going to go over 25 yards. Ritter had 201 yards against the Lions. So if Ritter could get that, I think Jordan Love could hit it. Ritter also had like 237 against the Packers. So if Ritter could do that, I think Goff could get 225, right? And then same with those Dubs and what's his name, Reed. The Lions allowed 48 yards and 45 yards to the Chiefs receivers. Lockett and Metcalf got 75, 59. So you would think Dubes and Reed can at least hit 40 each, right? And then I think like Mooney even got 50 yards against the Packers, and Olave got over 100 yards with Thomas. So I don't know. I feel good about that. Like I researched both defenses, seen what every player did, and I kind of just mirrored it over to my parlay, made it safer, took a little bit under the actual lines that I think are going to hit. So if you want to put $10, win 100. If you want to put $1, win 10. What do you guys think of that?
So the only thing, man, as a Packers fan, I feel like you got a lot invested in that passing game with Christian Watson anticipating coming back. Aaron Jones is anticipating coming back. That might mess up some of that receiving yardage for Reed and Dubs for sure.
Well, the thing is, I also looked into the receiving ends, and the Lions don't really allow many rushing yards, so they're going to have to rely more on the passing. And it's only.
Well, I'm saying Aaron Jones getting some of that passing work. That's what I'm talking about.
But I mean, 40 and 20, that's only 105 yards between the three, Musgrave, Dubes, and Reed. So there's still like 120 yards left to go around.
Yeah.
Like, who knows? Like that, the Wicks could get some. I like him.
Yeah.
They could throw to the running back a little bit. I don't.
How many yards do you think Jordan Love is actually going to throw in the air?
Jordan Love, probably like 215.
That's safe.
But I got him 200.
No. I was just curious what you thought he was going to throw. That's all.
Yeah, about 215.
All right, Jordan, set me up.
All right. Well, it's that time. When you get 70 points put on your head, and the team had a chance to set the NFL record for points, and they opted to turn it down. They could have set the record for most points in a game on you. Weeks after the coach said this was the worst coaching job I had ever seen, we got to talk about the Broncos. Mike, take it away.
All right. This is hard for me to put a Broncos fan hat on in the sense of treating it like I am a Broncos fan. So I am going to half treat it like a Broncos fan and half treat it like a football/fantasy owner. Sean Payton should have stayed at the goddamn Colin Cowherd studio. Stop talking crap about Nathaniel Hackett and stay home. You better be regretting coming back, okay? Let's ride is not riding. Freaking that defense was better last year who was coaching the defense at one point in the last couple of years? The defensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins, Vic Old Dusty Balls Man Fangio. Okay? Then he goes out. I'm talking about Sean Payton still. Then he goes out and says stuff about Tua and blah, 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 blah. Tua's like, you know what? I'm going to show you up. Okay? 70 freaking points. And the only reason you got 20, and Jamie, you can back me up on this one. The only reason you even got 20 is because my man, Marvin Mims, bailed you out on a freaking kickoff.
Yep.
Okay? You should have only had 13 goddamn points. Okay? And you're supposed to be this offensive freaking genius. Okay? Was it you or was it freaking Drew Brees? Because now I'm starting to think there's a lot more Drew Brees than your dumbass down in freaking Jordan's area. Okay? This team, does he regret coming back? I am not sure. This team is in shambles. They're not playing the offense right. Javonte is still coming back. I know he played in the preseason and all that, and everyone was all happy that he came back. Thought maybe he came back a little early, whatever. The other thing that I want to get into, and I am probably even a little more passionate on this next topic than I was just now, and that is Marvin Mims. Okay? Because I pulled some stats today that to me are freaking flabbergasting, shocking, and downright disrespectful. Okay? And I'm not going to be able to see your guys' faces when I give these, but I don't care. Because this is good shit. This is good TV. Okay? Cortland Sutton has 90% snap share. You would expect that. Jerry Jeudy has 71.9% snap share. You would expect that. Jordan's fake performance of the week, I believe it was last week,
Yep.
51.6% to Brandon frickin' I don't know who the hell you are, Johnson. 41.1% snap share to Lil Jordan Humphrey.
He was with Sean Payton in New Orleans.
And he was with Sean Payton. Marvin Mims only has 25% snap share, 16 snaps per game. Okay? That's blasphemy. You want to know why that's blasphemy, Jamie? Because I heard that sigh. You want to know why? Because I am about to tell you. He has, where's it at? Marvin Mims only has 7 catches this season. Okay? 7. Cortland Sutton has 17. Jerry Jeudy has 8. Little Jordan Humphrey has 3. Okay? Out of those 7 catches, that's on 9 targets. Okay? 5 of those are deep targets. I get that. 9.5% snap share. I understand that he right now is only a deep threat. But here's my issue. He has a 22.9% route participation, 9 routes per game. He's only got 9 routes per game, and he's had 7 catches, including his touchdown. So that's 8 touches that I'm talking about. I know he's probably had more kickoffs than that. Out of the 8 longest plays from scrimmage for the Denver Broncos this season, Jamie, what if I told you that Marvin Mims has 7 of those 8?
Oh.
And the Hail Mary is the 8th.
Yeah. Okay. He has 24.6 air yards per target. He has the 2 touchdowns. But the other thing is, where's it at? His yards per team pass attempt, which is the new greatest stat that everyone's going off the last couple years when it comes to scouting. I know some of the sites that you pay attention to, I'm not going to mention them on air, Jamie, but I know a couple of the sites that you pay attention to hardcore use those stats, correct?
Yep.
Jerry Jeudy, 1.51. Cortland Sutton, 1.82. Marvin Mims, 1.88. He is the best on the team right now this year, and you're not even playing the mofo. Sean Payton, if you're a great coach, put your players in, damn it.
Oh, man, 100% agree.
Yeah.
Rant over. Either one of you can take over because I can't talk.
Sean Payton, man, he's trying his hardest to throw Russell Wilson under the bus. He's talking about if we need to wristband the plays, then we can do that. He needs to do a better job of getting the plays in on time. But he's throwing Russ under the bus at every turn. But Russ hasn't played as terrible as he did last season. This is all coaching. This is penalties. This is a defense with a lack of effort because they got the talent. I mean, Patrick Surtain is one of the best corners in the league. That they have some guys on defense. It's effort, and that starts with the coaching. These dumb penalties starts with the coaching. I think he needs to own that instead of trying to pass the buck on somebody else.
Jamie, what do you think about
this? Oh, man, I'm looking forward to this dumpster fire of a game this week. It's going to be the Broncos versus the Bears.
Loser.
I heard you can get tickets
fired.
for $10. I heard you can get tickets on StubHub for $10.
But like as Jordan said, like it's not all Russell Wilson.
No.
For fantasy, he's in the top 10 right now for quarterbacks. I mean, he's QB9.
Yeah, because they're freaking long bombs and freaking Hail Mary shit.
But yeah, I mean that's crazy. They need to use their playmakers more. It's Sean Payton. Like I don't think he thinks Russ is his quarterback for the future, so he's probably just making him look bad. so we can get someone else to come in and then start over. I don't know what he's doing.
He thought he was so smart that he could come and fix everything, and he realized that he can't. I think, or maybe it's just going to take more time than he thought. Because I still think he's a good coach, or maybe I did, and maybe Drew Brees was covering up all the warts. But I'm gonna give him some time. But because the Broncos were in shambles last year, and so if he wouldn't have said anything and talked trash about it, nobody would be on him, because I mean it was a rough season last year, and it's hard to just make a complete turnaround like that. But the fact that he came out there and said the crap that he did, I feel like that's why more people are upset with what's been going on. And then, I mean, they lost by 50 points in football this past Sunday, so that's ridiculous.
All right, so before we get into the starts and sit section of the week and our waiver wire section, who you should grab. Man, my head's already spinning tonight. Jamie, you got one job to do right now, and you know what that is.
Yes, sir.
All right. Today's show is a special ad read. If you don't already know, everyone, so here we go. Today's show is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Check out their industry-leading best ball leagues with huge tournaments, private leagues, pick'ems for every major sport. Sign up with our promo code GF2 and get a deposit match, which I will get to in a second. It's as simple as that. Sign up, use our promo code GF2, capital G, capital F2, and you can start drafting your best ball teams now. Best ball tournaments are over now, but there's pick'ems, there's all that. There is the QR code. I'm going to bring it down, and I'm going to talk about the deposit match because it got spicy today. The deposit match is normally up to $100. The boss man got an email today. If you are a new user and you use our promo code GF2, the deadline is October 4th. Underdog will now, until October 4th, match up to 500 buckaroos. Wow. Half a grand. It's normally $100 match. They will match up to a $500 deposit. That does not happen. So go, if you are a new user, go GF2. Use that up to whatever you can do, because that is not normal in this industry. Jamie, you use Underdog.
Yes, sir.
You can attest that does, and you know a lot of people that also have codes. That does not happen.
Oh, that's insane. $500?
Yeah.
That does not.
Triple that easy.
Yeah. All right, Kyle, what is up, my man?
Kyle.
Mr. Senra, the other Packer fan, one of the other Packer fans. We have too many Packer fans on the staff. All right, so before we get into Jordan's, and this is why I said start and sit was his next question was in my head. Before we get into the waiver wire, Jamie, I will start with you this time. We have to start to flex PPR, Nico Collins, Zach Moss, your Browns, Elijah Moore, or Jahan Dotson.
It's pretty easy for me. I'm going to go Nico and Moss. Just Moss strictly on the volume he's going to get. And then, Nico's been beasting lately. I don't think you can sit him.
I agree. Nico and Zach Moss, easy.
It's a sweep. Yep. I love Jahan Dotson, but I can't start him right now.
Yeah, same.
It's too volatile.
I love Elijah Moore too, but I can't start him right now either.
And yes, I'll put this up just for you, Kyle.
We know why we can't start Elijah Moore, because of what Jamie said last week on the show sheet.
Sean Watson.
And then he goes out and pulls out a top 12 out of his butthole the week I say to sit his ass. That was my bad.
And then Jamie says they're going to win the division.
Yeah, exactly.
That's on the defense, though.
Okay. So, Jordan, there is some big-time stuff that's gone on this week. We talked about one of the major injuries. Who is your waiver wire pickups for week 4?
So, it's two guys kind of feeding off of the Mike Williams injuries, Chargers guys. Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnston. I know a lot of people dropped QJ after his playing time was kind of limited. Palmer had kind of emerged as the third guy behind Williams and Keenan Allen in the receiving core. So people dropped him, but I mean, pick him back up because I think long term he's going to be the better option. If you need somebody probably for this week, I would say pick up Palmer because he's more likely to probably produce this week. But moving forward, I would rather have Quentin Johnston because I think he's a better talent. They obviously took him in the first round, so they have high hopes for him. He's impressed when he's gotten balls thrown his way, like in the preseason and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd have him and another guy. It's somebody that Jamie talked about in his parlay, and in a Packer, Luke Musgrave. That's a tight end. I mean, tight end, man. It feels even worse than it typically is. I mean, I have Tyler Higbee in a couple of leagues, and he's been sucking all year, but he's tied in 9. So, it's one of those things where if you can get a guy who's getting consistent target volume, which Musgrave has been doing, I want to see what happens when Christian Watson plays, but he's been getting the volume, so you can always stream tight end. If you don't have one of the top 2-3 guys, you're gonna be streaming tight ends anyway. So why not take a chance on him if you need to?
Jamie, what do you think about those picks?
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, I like some Musgrave, but with the Palmer and QJ, if you need someone this week, pick up Palmer. He's been getting I think he got 80 snaps compared to QJ's 30. But then they're going to be going into a bye week soon. So after the bye week, I think they're going to take that time, get QJ more involved. So long term, I would definitely go QJ. But I think both can be great plays week to week.
All right. Real quick to Jordan's point about the tight end situation being dog doo-doo.
Yes.
I'm going to put a friendly PSA reminder out there. Donald Parham is tight end 5. Okay.
That's all you need to know.
That's all I need to say about that. I disagree with you boys. I don't know if I'm going to be able to trust QJ. I want Palmer. I need to see more. The question is, are they going to move? And if it does happen, Jamie, it's going to happen after the bye, like you mentioned. The question is, do they keep Palmer at his spot as the 3 and, in their position and move QJ into the 2 hole? Or do they move Palmer to the 3 and have QJ play the 3 hole, however you want to portray it? I am a Palmer guy, so that's part of the problem. However, Jamie, have I been a QJ guy at all this summer?
Nope. And
I have not been on the QJ train. The other thing with rookie wide receivers, I'm afraid we're going to have to wait till 9 or 10 to get something out of QJ that is startable. So that is the only reason I am off on QJ. Other than that, I get it. If you need to go get QJ, go get it. I'm just afraid he's not going to be a reliable starter on my team till it's too late in the season. Jamie, Who is yours?
Well, the obvious one is going to be A-Chain. Obviously, he's not going to put up what he did last week. I think he got 18 carries, whatever targets, but I could see maybe 10 to 12 going forward. Definitely someone to throw on your bench just to see how they work that out. Plus, if Mostert gets hurt, then it's going to be wheels up for him. But I got a couple quarterbacks that you need to look into. Obviously, Jameis Winston with the car situation. So if you need someone short term, next 2-3 weeks, Jameis Winston could be a decent ad, especially with those weapons they have. And then you got Kamara coming back, so that'll help them a little bit more. But a deep stash would be the Trevor Siemian to the Jets, because we all know how crappy their starting quarterback is. And he could lose his job any second now. So even in Dynasty League, go ahead, throw him on your bench if you got deep benches. But don't drop someone good for him. Just if you have the space in the room, it would be a decent deep stash.
Yeah, and you never know. I mean, Winston for sure, especially streaming options. Winston I know down in Jordan's neck of the woods, they love Jameis Winston. People
Yeah.
think he should. People think he should have been the starter. Not saying that over Carr, but there's plenty of people that thought, why aren't they giving him a chance to start?
And I don't think he's played since he had LASIK. Has
He
he?
did.
I
did.
don't know. I don't know
He
how
did.
clear his vision
He
is.
started the season last year after the LASIK surgery. He played pretty well, but then he got hurt. I think he got hurt again. It was like a knee or something, and then that's when Andy Dalton stepped in, and then he kept the job.
So people want him to get another chance because he showed, but it just didn't happen. They were able to get Carr, Simeon.
That's just a deep.
No, and I understand you needed to bring it up because it needed to get brought up. It's just sad. All I'm saying, it's sad that we have to bring it up. That's all I'm saying. Jordan, do you have any comments about those two?
I think Jameis definitely. I thought that this would be better for the weapons having James because he doesn't care. He's slinging the ball all over the place. I thought it would be better for the weapons for the amount of time that he's going to have the job. And with Simeon, I mean, anytime you have a quarterback that can have weapons like Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, I mean, it's worth just stashing them in a deep league if you have a chance. I mean, he'll have just from those weapons alone, it could be I throw a screen pass and you take it 70 yards. So it's possible. You might as well just stash a guy if you need the quarterback help.
All right. So my pickup of the week, it is actually a pickup before you need to pick him up. If you catch what I'm laying down. One, because I think his performance is going to pick up, especially if his quarterback doesn't play and his starting quarterback doesn't play another week. If his current quarterback stops stepping out of bounds out of the back of the end zone, we will have a better week as well. But here's the thing. Bye week start in week 5. Jamie brought it up for one team. The 4 teams that have bye weeks, each one of them have more, all of them but one, and the one is because of the injury, Jamie. Cleveland has Elijah Moore and Amari Cooper at wideout. The Chargers have Keenan Allen, would have had Mike Williams, but now you have to include Palmer and QJ. Seattle has technically 3 wide receivers. You have JSN, who some people are having to start in deep leagues. You got Lockett and DK Metcalf. And Tampa Bay's on bye. They got Godwin and Evans. So that's some teams only have 1 wide receiver. The Chiefs don't have any that you want to start. So my player that I want to pick up if I can, because he's available. He's only taken in 31% of Yahoo leagues. I wasn't able to check the sleeper number, but it's Josh Downs, the rookie from Indianapolis Colts, the rookie from North Carolina. He had 12 targets, I think, in week, with Minshew. I think he is going to have a better game performance. He's going to eat a little bit into Pittman. More importantly, I think he's going to eat into the Alec Pierce production. And I think he could be a starter on a bye week in a week or two. The problem is, I think if you don't go get him now, you might regret it, because if you don't have the waiver wire or the fab to pick him up in week 5 or 6, and you don't need to pick anyone up now because there wasn't a bunch of injuries this week. Yes, there was a couple key ones, but you might be able to still get him on your waiver. That's who I would pick him up. You guys know me. I try to go a little deeper, partly because of the leagues I'm in. There's a lot of leagues that even in redraft, he's already gone. I mean, I got a redraft league that's freaking 26 roster spots deep. Jamie, what do you think about Josh Downs?
Yeah, I like Downs, man. He's definitely the number 2 in that offense. He's going to get more targets than that Alec Pierce. And then even when Richardson comes back, I mean, Richardson does have that arm, man. So we'll be able to get down that field. I think he has like 4.4 speed, 4.45. something like that. So
Yeah, something like
he does
that.
got that speed. So just get down the field, throwing the ball.
Jordan?
Yeah, I like him, man. He's been getting the target volume. Obviously, having Minshew helps the passing game overall, but even with Anthony Richardson, it looks like they're taking steps in the passing game to kind of cater to his skill set as well. So those weapons aren't as bad from a fantasy standpoint as I thought they would be when we all knew that Anthony Richardson would be the star. So the offense is coming around, and if Anthony Richardson is out for one more week, then this is the last chance to get Downs before he has a good game with Minshew. They're playing against the Rams, I believe, so that he'll have opportunities for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking now, and I mean he's even getting targeted in the red zone the first 2 weeks. He had 2 red zone targets week 1, 1 in week 2, 12 total targets last week.
Yep. So that we had a great show, but before we send you off on the rest of your Tuesday night, it is time for our primetime game picks. I just made that up, and actually it worked. Jamie is still in the lead, but me and Jordan or Jordan actually tied Jamie 6th. So Jamie and Jordan are 6-3. I'm sitting one game back at 5-4, all because I decided to pick mac and cheese, and that backfired on my ass. So Jamie, Jordan, we will start, or actually, yes, Jordan, we are starting with you on the first game. Detroit versus Green Bay.
I must say Detroit beat them in week 18.
Yep. In Green Bay.
I know, yeah. All the guys coming back. You know what? I'm going with the Pack.
Okay. Jamie, who are you going with?
I'm going to go with Detroit. Too high powered of an offense. I don't think Christian Watson plays this week. Still, they might hold him out another week or two until even after the bye week. Who knows?
All right. So I am taking the Detroit Kitty Cats. I understand it is I completely get your point, Jordan, and I do agree with you that it is Jared Goff on the road. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get enough, and ARSB is going to do enough, and that defense is going to hold them just enough. I think it's going to be a close game. Yeah. It's not going to be no blowout. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a division game. It's in Lambeau. It's at night.
I mean, it could go either way. That's why I didn't put a money line in my parlay because you couldn't really pick one.
All right. So the second game, and this is kind of funny. We're only missing one team from this card. The Kansas City Chiefs. This should have been such a great game.
Yeah.
This should have been a game that I was going to worry. I mean, I am still going to worry because I'm a Mike, and I just worry about every little – I was worried about the Bears game until halftime. I mean, I was worried that freaking somebody in the stands was going to give the Kim Kardashian curse, and we'll leave it at that. I'm just going to go shake it off. But Kansas City versus the Jets, I'm taking the Chiefs. That's evident. Jordan, who are you taking?
I think I'm gonna go with the Jet. Nah, I'm joking. I'm going with the Chiefs. I'm going with the Chiefs.
All right, so Kyle has to add real quick, and Kyle's a Packers fan, so I'm bringing this up. Lions have won 3 straight games against the Packers.
Time for that streak to end. Thanks, Kyle.
Okay. So, Jamie, are you taking the Jets?
Obviously not.
Okay. So that's a clean sweep. Jamie, I will give you first dibs on this one.
This is
Seahawks at the Giants.
Yeah. So it's at the Giants, but I'm still going to go to Seahawks. I don't think that offense is going to be able to keep up with Seattle's offense.
Yeah, I agree. Seahawks.
Actually, I don't think Barkley's 100%. He may play, but still.
So I think we have a clean sweep. Seahawks are going to go, and I said at the beginning of the year, this Giants team is the worst team in the NFC East.
Yep. So we only have one difference. So with the Green Bay, is that a homer?
I really don't think it's a homer pick.
Yeah, no, like I said, it could go either way.
Yeah,
it's a pick rival. I mean, it's a division game. It could go either way. And Thursday game, it can go whatever. It can go either way.
Jared
All
Goff
right.
on the road is a real thing too.
Yeah, that is a real thing. So, Jamie, you know what to do. Start it off, buddy.
Yeah, find me on Twitter, Jamie Perogue, and then right here on Tuesday night, cheat sheet every Tuesday. And then for your start sit questions, tune in to the Going for Two Start Sit show. Starts at 11:30 Eastern time. We're there just to answer any start sit questions you got, man.
Jordan.
On X at jarsenal89, breakout or fake out. Gonna be transitioning into cut them or keep them next week, so that's something to look forward to. Typically on Wednesdays. Then you catch me here every Tuesday night.
You can find me here. You can find me Drop the Mic FF on the X, the blue, whatever you want to call it these days. I keep getting frustrated, whatever they want to call it, because you go on a computer and it still says Twitter, but then you go on your phone and it's on X. You can also find me doing some new stuff on the Twitter machine. Jamie knows what I'm talking about. I've been starting to make some memes, some GIFs. There's one out there of Randy Orton giving the Cowboys the RKO.
Yes.
There is one out there of Russell Wilson's season burning. And I got two more in the works. So I got one about Jordan's favorite Raider wide receiver. And I got another one about one of the teams from Monday Night Football last night. So I will put those out tonight and tomorrow. Other than that, for Jamie, for Jordan, we'll see you next Tuesday. Good night and peace out.